Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. Some people enter your life quietly, but leave your intuition screaming. There's a strange truth psychologists have been circling for years. Your brain can detect an unusual personality within 0.1 seconds, long before you consciously register what feels off. And when that instinct kicks in around a woman who doesn't fit any typical category, who doesn't play for attention, approval, or status, your mind takes a step back and whispers, "Hold on. Who exactly is this?" That's the moment you've just crossed paths with a Sigma female, a woman whose presence doesn't shout, sparkle, or beg for recognition, yet somehow pulls your entire awareness toward her like a quiet, gravitational force. She isn't mysterious on purpose. She's mysterious by nature. She isn't intimidating because she tries. She's intimidating because she doesn't have to. And just to make things even more confusing, she'll do all this while looking like she's simply minding her business, or wondering why humans talk so loudly. A real Sigma female doesn't give you grand entrances or dramatic theatrics. Instead, she gives you that eerie, lingering feeling, like you just met someone who sees the world on a very different bandwidth. So buckle up, because the signs you're about to see aren't the usual cliches. They're the creepy, accurate signals that you've encountered one of the rarest psychological profiles out there. And trust me, your intuition felt it long before you did. Number 1. She scans for the power vacuum, not the spotlight. A real Sigma female doesn't enter a room looking for attention or validation. She doesn't care who's loudest, richest, or most socially polished. Instead, her focus is invisible to most people. She scans for the power vacuum, the subtle gap in influence where control is unclaimed or unrecognized. She notices the person whose words subtly steer conversations, the one whose silence shapes outcomes, or the individual whose presence everyone unconsciously defers to. She sees the dynamics that others completely miss, the unspoken hierarchies that exist beneath the surface of chatter and laughter. The fascinating and unsettling part is that she doesn't approach these spaces to dominate them herself. She observes first, mapping who holds sway, who pretends to, and who's actually just floating along. People around her can feel it without knowing why. They may be laughing, joking, or performing, but she sees the cracks, the hesitations, the hidden pushes and pulls that define real influence. It's almost surgical. And because she doesn't care about being the center, her presence alone exposes weaknesses, insecurities, and pretenses in ways that make others self-conscious. She knows when to intervene, when to stay silent, and when simply being present is enough to shift a room's energy. Her timing is impeccable. When she acts, it's precise, efficient, and often leaves people wondering how she even noticed what no one else did. This is why manipulators, loud personalities, and social climbers feel unnerved around her. They instinctively sense that she sees beyond their facade, that she understands the underlying rules without needing them explained. A Sigma female's ability to identify the power vacuum isn't about control or ego. It's about awareness. It's a quiet intelligence that watches patterns, reads intentions, and senses opportunity in human behavior, all while appearing calm, detached, and slightly unreadable. And the creepiest part? You won't realize she noticed everything until much later, when her actions, or lack of them, make perfect, unsettling sense. She doesn't seek the spotlight, but she understands the architecture of influence better than anyone else in the room. That's why, when she's around, the invisible currents of power suddenly feel like they've been exposed, and everyone else can't help but feel it. Number 2. Her emotional neutrality feels like a mirror you can't read. A real Sigma female doesn't hand out emotional cues the way most people do. She doesn't smile because she's expected to, frown because something annoys her, or react the way society assumes she should. Instead, she maintains a kind of emotional neutrality that's unsettling to everyone around her. When she's in a conversation, her expression doesn't necessarily betray what she's thinking. Her tone doesn't give away approval or judgment. It's as if she exists on a different frequency, one that makes it impossible to gauge her feelings at a glance. People instinctively try to read her, but every conventional signal they rely on bounces off her without leaving a mark. This neutrality acts as a mirror that reflects other people's behavior back at them, not in a flattering way, but in a way that forces self-awareness. If someone is arrogant, they notice it because she doesn't inflate their ego. If someone is manipulative, they realize it because she doesn't play along. If someone is insecure, they feel it magnified because she doesn't soften her presence to accommodate them. The unnerving part is that she's not trying to manipulate or expose anyone. She simply exists without emotional bias, and that absence of reaction becomes a spotlight, revealing the truth of everyone else. Her emotional neutrality also makes her incredibly hard to manipulate or predict. Unlike people who wear their feelings on their sleeves, she creates a kind of calm uncertainty. You never quite know if she's impressed, indifferent, amused, or analyzing. This unpredictability creates tension because humans are wired to respond to emotional signals. They seek validation, confirmation, or even confrontation. She doesn't provide those shortcuts. People around her start overthinking, second-guessing themselves, and often feel a subtle discomfort that they can't place. What makes it even more disorienting is that she doesn't need to act emotionally cold to maintain this effect. She's not distant because she wants to punish or alienate anyone. She's distant because her mind operates on observation and logic first, emotion second. The result is a presence that's simultaneously calm, intense, and quietly dominant. Her neutrality doesn't just make her mysterious, it forces people to face themselves in ways they aren't prepared for, leaving a lingering, unforgettable impression long after she walks away. Number 3. She knows when to disappear right before people realize they relied on her. A real Sigma female has an uncanny sense of timing, especially when it comes to presence and absence. She doesn't linger out of obligation, and she doesn't withdraw out of fear. Instead, she moves with precision, often vanishing just before people fully realize how much they've come to depend on her. It's not about playing games or seeking attention. It's about maintaining autonomy and observing the natural consequences of her influence. The moment she leaves is never random. It's calculated, subtle, and almost surgical in its impact. People around her often don't notice at first. She's reliable, competent, and quietly efficient, which makes her indispensable in ways that go almost unnoticed. She picks up slack without making it obvious, anticipates problems before they appear, and handles situations that would leave others scrambling. Then, without fanfare, she steps away, whether it's from a conversation, a social circle, or even a project, and suddenly the space she occupied feels emptier than anyone expected. That absence hits like a missing puzzle piece, revealing just how much her presence shaped the environment. What makes this behavior both fascinating and unsettling is the clarity she gains by observing the ripple effects of her absence. She sees who panics, who thrives, and who pretends everything is fine. People are forced to confront their own reliance, their weaknesses, and their hidden expectations. The Sigma female doesn't gloat, intervene, or return immediately. She watches, silent and detached, noting how balance shifts without her. It's a quiet power move, one that leaves others uneasy, confused, and often impressed without her having lifted a finger. Her disappearances are never dramatic or attention-seeking. There's no goodbye performance or accusatory exit. She simply steps back, letting reality and human nature fill in the gaps. The eerie part is that when she returns, if she ever does, People often assume they missed her less than they did. She's already assessed, adjusted, and positioned herself for the next move. In her world, absence is just as much a tool as presence, and she wields it with precision that makes her unforgettable, unnerving, and completely untouchable. Number 4. People manipulators instantly get uncomfortable around her. A real Sigma female has an almost psychic ability to detect hidden agendas, subtle manipulations, and emotional games. She doesn't have to probe, pry, or ask questions. She just notices. The slightest attempt to control her, influence her decisions, or play on her emotions is immediately visible in her calm, unshakable demeanor. Manipulators, con artists, and attention seekers instinctively sense this, and the moment they do, their confidence wavers. They become tense, fidgety, or over-explain themselves, all without realizing that she hasn't even reacted yet. Her power isn't loud or confrontational. She doesn't call people out for trying to manipulate her. She doesn't argue or escalate. Instead, she maintains a composed, neutral presence that quietly signals, "I see exactly what you're doing, and it won't work." That subtle, almost invisible boundary is far more unnerving than an outright confrontation because it strips manipulators of their usual tools without a single word. People around her can feel the shift in energy. They may not know why, but they sense that control has slipped through their fingers. What makes this even creepier is her ability to observe the manipulator without being manipulated herself. She doesn't mirror insecurity, she doesn't overcompensate, and she doesn't engage in mind games. Instead, she quietly assesses motives, patterns, and intentions, all while remaining untouchable emotionally. Those who try to manipulate her start second-guessing every word, tone, and gesture because she provides no validation for their tactics. The more they push, the more obvious their strategy becomes, and the more uncomfortable they feel. Her presence alone acts like a filter that separates genuine intentions from ulterior motives. It's not something people can fake their way through, and it's not something they can reason around. They either adapt, reveal their true selves, or retreat. This is the silent, unnerving effect a Sigma female has. She doesn't need to confront deception to dismantle it. The room shifts, tension rises, and manipulators instinctively feel exposed, all because she sees through the smoke and mirrors and refuses to play along. It's subtle, eerie, and devastatingly effective. Number 5. She gives short answers when someone is trying too hard. A real Sigma female doesn't suffer nonsense lightly, and she doesn't indulge people who try to force connection, impress her, or manipulate her attention. When someone overcompensates with exaggerated charm, forced humor, or excessive flattery, she responds in a way that feels almost surgical, short, precise answers that cut through the performance without needing to be rude. It's not about shutting people down harshly. It's about setting a boundary without drama. Her words, or the lack of them, signal clearly that she's not participating in anyone else's attempts to control, impress, or manipulate her. This behavior is quietly unsettling for those around her because most people are accustomed to reactions, smiles, nods, laughter, or even polite engagement. But she doesn't conform to social scripts. If someone is trying too hard, their energy becomes transparent to her, and she mirrors back only what's necessary. A simple okay, or right is all she needs to maintain the conversation's rhythm while keeping the upper hand. People feel exposed, awkward, or overexposed because they realize they've been performing for someone who doesn't care to be entertained. What makes this so effective and slightly eerie is the subtle way she communicates dominance without being loud or aggressive. She doesn't lecture, criticize, or scold. She doesn't need to explain herself. The short answers act like a mirror of their overexertion, reflecting it back and letting them experience the discomfort of realizing they misjudged her interest. It's a form of control that doesn't look like control, and it's disarming because it forces people to evaluate their own behavior rather than hers. Her economy of words also shows a deep understanding of human dynamics. She knows that effort without substance is obvious, and she refuses to reward it. The people trying too hard leave conversations feeling a strange mix of frustration, embarrassment, and awe, often questioning their own actions more than her reaction. In this way, she doesn't just communicate boundaries, she enforces them effortlessly, making it clear that only authenticity earns her attention. It's subtle, piercing, and unforgettable, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who miscalculates. Number 6. Her intuition about danger is unnervingly sharp. A real Sigma female possesses a kind of intuition that borders on the uncanny. It's not paranoia or fear. It's a precise, almost mechanical ability to sense risk, deceit, and hidden threats long before anyone else notices. She picks up on subtle cues that most people completely miss. A slight change in tone, a glance that lingers too long, a hesitation in movement, or even the energy a person radiates unconsciously. Where others might shrug off these signals as coincidence, she sees the invisible threads connecting actions to intentions. It's like she reads the undercurrent of situations and people with near-perfect accuracy. What makes this unnerving is how effortlessly she operates with this awareness. She doesn't broadcast suspicion, overreact, or interrogate. She moves, speaks, and engages in ways that keep her safe while subtly exposing the gaps and dangers around her. People often find themselves wondering why she avoids certain individuals or situations when there seems to be no obvious reason. Later, when the warning signs reveal themselves, it's clear that she had already seen what everyone else missed. Her intuition also gives her a strategic advantage in social dynamics. She knows which people carry hidden agendas, which conversations could escalate, and which environments are toxic without needing to be told. It's a mental radar that constantly scans for inconsistencies, power plays, and subtle threats, allowing her to respond in ways that are calm, calculated, and often disarmingly precise. The most unsettling part is that she rarely explains herself. People around her feel the tension, the invisible barriers, and the unspoken decisions, but they can't trace them to a conscious thought or action. It's as if she anticipates outcomes before they happen, adjusting her behavior to avoid danger without making anyone else aware. That quiet, almost eerie ability to read situations and people makes her presence both reassuring and intimidating. Anyone who underestimates it quickly realizes that she doesn't just react to danger, she predicts it, neutralizes it, and moves through it with an effortless clarity that leaves others feeling exposed, unsettled, and deeply aware that they're in the presence of someone who sees far more than she lets on. Number 7. She has a recording mode. A real Sigma female possesses a mental clarity that most people can't even begin to comprehend. She can enter what feels like a recording mode, a state of silent observation where she takes in every detail without being obvious. Her eyes, her posture, her calm stillness, all of it signals nothing, yet her mind is actively processing, cataloging, and analyzing. Conversations, interactions, facial expressions, tone of voice, and even the smallest gestures are stored like files in her memory. This isn't a casual habit. It's a disciplined, almost eerie skill that allows her to recall information at the perfect moment, often to subtle, devastating effect. People around her rarely realize she's doing this. She doesn't stare, interrogate, or hover. She simply appears present, but unassuming, almost invisible in her attentiveness. And that's what makes it unnerving. There's a sense of being seen in a way that isn't obvious, a quiet awareness that makes people subconsciously adjust their behavior. Jokes become flatter, lies become harder to hide, and subtle manipulations are immediately recognized. It's as if she has an invisible tape running, capturing everything without disrupting the flow around her. What makes this recording mode so powerful is her timing. She doesn't confront or expose people immediately. She waits, processes, and lets her insights accumulate. By the time she chooses to act, or even comment, her words carry weight, precision, and impact because they are based on complete, unfiltered observation. She never misses patterns, repeated behaviors, or hidden intentions. The creepiness lies in the fact that you can't tell what she remembers, what she's analyzing, or what she's storing for later. Her calm exterior masks a mind that is far more active than anyone realizes. She can replay interactions, anticipate responses, and calculate outcomes with frightening accuracy. Being around her feels safe, calm, and neutral on the surface, but underneath there is an undeniable awareness, a quiet, intense presence that makes people second-guess their every word and action. In that stillness, she is both observer and strategist, silently mastering the room without needing anyone to notice. Number 8. She values truth more than connection. A real Sigma female doesn't bend reality to make relationships easier, and she doesn't soften truths to keep people comfortable. She prioritizes truth over approval, over comfort, and over social harmony. That doesn't mean she's blunt for the sake of being harsh or that she enjoys confrontation. She simply refuses to dilute reality to maintain someone else's illusion. People around her quickly notice that she doesn't give the answers they want to hear. She gives the answers that are real, accurate, and often far more revealing than anyone is prepared for. This makes her both respected and feared, because honesty carries weight, and weight is not something everyone wants to carry. Her commitment to truth makes her interactions sharp and deeply revealing. She doesn't sugarcoat, dodge, or manipulate the narrative. If someone is lying, hiding, or exaggerating, she doesn't need to call it out overtly. Her calm, observant presence exposes it naturally. Her words and reactions are grounded in reality, and anyone trying to hide behind charm, pretension, or manipulation quickly finds that their facade is useless around her. The unspoken message is always clear. Truth matters more than your feelings, your ego, or your ability to impress me. This unwavering dedication also reshapes the way people communicate with her. Over time, she draws honesty out of others, not by force but by example. People sense that anything less than authenticity is meaningless in her presence. Lies, flattery, and performance don't just fail, they subtly make the person delivering them look foolish. And she doesn't even have to comment. Her silence or slight knowing reactions are enough to make someone reevaluate their actions. Her preference for truth over connection creates a subtle but powerful dynamic. Many people prioritize relationships and comfort, sometimes at the cost of reality. She does the opposite. That makes her presence rare and her influence profound. Being around her is like holding a mirror to reality that no one else will show you. It's unnerving, compelling, and unforgettable. In her world, the truth isn't negotiable, and that uncompromising clarity makes her a force that quietly dominates every interaction she's in. Number 9. People confess things to her they never planned to share. A real Sigma female has a presence that's quietly magnetic in a way most people can't explain. She doesn't coax, interrogate, or pry, yet somehow people spill truths they weren't even aware they were holding back. It's not manipulation. It's the effect of her calm, observant energy. She listens without judgment, reacts without bias, and maintains a sense of neutrality that makes people feel safe enough to reveal their hidden thoughts. Her presence doesn't demand stories, but it pulls them out naturally, as if she creates a space where honesty is unavoidable. The unnerving part is that this happens without effort. She doesn't ask invasive questions or press for details. A single comment, a carefully placed observation, or even her mere attentiveness is enough to make someone lower their guard. People find themselves talking about fears, insecurities, ambitions, and confessions they never intended to share. It's like she has a subtle gravitational pull that draws the truth to the surface. And the creepier aspect is how acutely she absorbs every detail, storing it in her mind to understand the patterns and motives behind it, rather than just the words themselves. This ability gives her a silent power that's almost invisible. People think they're just having a casual conversation, but she is mentally cataloging everything: the tone, the hesitation, the choice of words, the hidden emotions underneath. Later, she can reference these truths, sometimes subtly, sometimes in ways that make the other person realize exactly how much she understood. The effect is both unnerving and compelling, leaving people feeling exposed yet strangely relieved, as if their secret confessions were never judged but fully recognized. Her presence teaches a hard lesson. Authenticity surfaces when there's no performance expected, and she instinctively creates that space. She doesn't force transparency, but she inevitably elicits it, leaving a lasting impression on everyone she encounters. People often leave conversations with her unsettled because they realize they revealed more than they planned. And they did it without realizing it, all while she remained perfectly composed, quietly aware, and entirely untouchable. Number 10. Her silence has meaning. Every time a real Sigma female doesn't fill space with meaningless chatter, reactions, or forced engagement. Every time she goes quiet, it carries weight, purpose, and intention. Her silence is never accidental or empty. It's a deliberate tool she uses to observe, analyze, and influence the world around her. People notice it instinctively, even if they can't articulate why. There's a subtle tension that fills the room when she stops speaking, a quiet pressure that makes others reconsider their words, actions, and even motives. Her silence is powerful because it forces people to confront themselves. Conversations pause, behaviors shift, and hidden dynamics become visible simply because she isn't reacting in predictable ways. She doesn't need to criticize, argue, or explain herself. The lack of response does all the work. Those around her often start overthinking, trying to fill the void, or questioning whether they said the right thing. And that pause, that tiny crack in normal social rhythm, is where her influence quietly takes hold. This is why people find her both magnetic and unsettling. Her silence is not coldness. It's an active state of awareness. She watches, absorbs, and interprets everything, and her absence of words amplifies the reality of what's happening. People feel seen without being validated, exposed without being attacked, and measured without being judged. It's a rare skill because most people think silence is emptiness, but for her, it is communication in its purest, most strategic form. What makes it even more remarkable is the timing. She chooses precisely when to speak and when to remain silent, using the pauses like punctuation in a sentence that everyone else is reading but can't quite decipher. By the time she speaks, her words hit with impact because they are rare, intentional, and grounded in observation. Every silence leaves a mark, a subtle imprint on the psyche of those present. People leave conversations with her unsettled, aware, and sometimes impressed, never fully understanding how much her quiet presence shaped the interaction. That is the unsettling, magnetic, and quietly dominant power of a Sigma female's silence. It always has meaning, and it always matters. Number 11. She forgives quickly, but never reopens the door. A real Sigma female has a way of moving through conflict and betrayal that's both efficient and unnerving. She forgives quickly, But her forgiveness isn't an invitation to return to the same patterns or to rebuild trust blindly. She doesn't carry grudges in a noisy, obvious way, but she records conclusions silently and permanently. Once she decides someone has crossed a line she won't tolerate, she doesn't replay it endlessly in her mind, but she also doesn't give that person a second chance to step over the same boundary. Her forgiveness is a gift to herself, a way of releasing unnecessary baggage, not a reset button for others. This approach is both disarming and unsettling. Most people expect forgiveness to come with a conversation, a chance for explanation, or some repeated proof of loyalty. She doesn't work that way. She doesn't need drama or apologies to move on. She simply absorbs the experience, learns the lesson, and then locks the door to that chapter. Anyone who misjudged her presence or integrity quickly realizes that while she might appear calm and unaffected, her internal system has already recalibrated, and she won't let the same mistake happen twice. Her method creates a quiet authority over her relationships. People notice that she can maintain composure, remain unbothered, and still manage to protect herself without overt conflict. It's a kind of invisible strength that makes her unshakable. Those who attempt to test her boundaries again find themselves met with polite distance, subtle disengagement, or simple exclusion, all without explanation. There's no emotional explosion, no public confrontation, just a calculated boundary that is silently enforced. The most striking part is how this affects others. People who misstep around her start thinking twice, realizing that her forgiveness is not a revolving door. Her clarity, decisiveness, and unwavering protection of her own space leave a lasting impression. She moves on, but she doesn't allow the same vulnerabilities to be exploited again. Her approach is precise, efficient, and quietly terrifying. She gives people closure, but she never gives them the same opportunity to hurt her twice. In her world, forgiveness is for herself, not for anyone else, and that makes her untouchable, respected, and unforgettable. Number 12. You walk away feeling evaluated, not judged. A real Sigma female has a presence that leaves people unsettled without saying a word. When you interact with her, there's no criticism, no overbearing opinion, no judgmental glance. But somehow, you leave the conversation feeling like she saw through you completely. It's not that she judges your choices or morals, she simply evaluates them, catalogues them, and files them away in a way that makes you acutely aware of your own actions and intentions. You feel exposed, but not attacked, observed, but not confronted. It's a subtle, quiet intensity that lingers long after she walks away. This effect is unnerving because it doesn't fit the usual social script. Most people react, comment, or engage with others in ways that validate, criticize, or manipulate. She bypasses all that. Her focus is clarity, understanding, and truth. Every word, every gesture, every hesitation you display is noted, analyzed, and understood in a way that makes you feel simultaneously seen and unsettled. The impression isn't about her opinion. It's about your own reflection against her awareness. She becomes a mirror of reality, showing you aspects of yourself you might not have admitted, even to yourself. What makes it even more compelling is her ability to remain entirely neutral and calm while doing this. There's no drama, no emotional spike, no hints that she's processing anything extraordinary. And that's exactly what makes people feel evaluated rather than judged. You don't leave feeling shamed or criticized. You leave feeling like you've been quietly examined, measured, and understood. That subtle awareness is a kind of psychological gravity. It draws attention to your behavior, decisions, and intentions in a way that feels intimate, yet disarming. Her evaluative presence teaches a hard lesson. Authenticity is instantly recognized, and pretenses are transparent. She doesn't need to comment on what she observes. Her stillness, her attentiveness, and her calm intensity do all the work. People leave interactions with her more self-aware, more cautious, and often more respectful, without ever fully understanding how she achieved it. That quiet, unnerving skill to make others feel evaluated, not judged, is one of the most potent and unforgettable powers of a Sigma female. A real Sigma female is unlike anyone you've ever met. She doesn't demand attention, chase validation, or follow the rules that most people live by. Her presence is quiet, yet profoundly unsettling. Her awareness is deep, yet seemingly effortless. From the way she scans for the invisible power dynamics in a room, to the subtle ways she elicits truths without asking, to the unnerving precision of her silence, every action, or inaction, reveals a mind that operates on a level most people can't comprehend. She forgives without reopening doors, achieves her ambitions in silence, and leaves people walking away feeling evaluated, not judged. Each encounter with her feels like a lesson in human behavior, a subtle reminder that authenticity, observation, and self-mastery create influence far stronger than any superficial charm or loud personality. What makes her truly extraordinary is that she doesn't need to perform, manipulate, or announce herself to make an impact. She exists as a force of clarity, intelligence, and quiet dominance, and the world reacts, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously, to her presence. People are drawn to her, challenged by her, and forever changed by the way she moves through life. And the most remarkable thing is that she doesn't care about the effect she has. She acts with precision, awareness, and self-possession, because that's simply who she is. She is a master of observation, a strategist in silence, and an unparalleled presence that leaves a lasting impression long after she is gone. If this breakdown of a real Sigma female intrigued you, captivated you, or even made you pause and rethink the people around you, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss more deep dives into the hidden psychology of extraordinary personalities. Don't forget to like this video if you found it insightful. Share it with someone who needs to understand the subtle power of a Sigma female, and leave a comment letting us know which sign shocked you the most. Every interaction here helps uncover the secrets of personalities that aren't just fascinating, they're unforgettable.